In this video, I'm going to make a special report about e-visa processing in consulates and embassies worldwide. In the past several months, there's been a lot of issues with e-visa processing in different consulates, and I wanted to give you a most recent update as we received it directly from the Department of State. So if you're interested in the investor visa E2, in the treaty trader E1, this video is just for you, the most recent up-to-date information. So what are you waiting for? I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Immigration Channel. This is the place we get the most up-to-date immigration news, immigration information, and everything else that you need to make your immigration journey less stressful. My name is Jacob Sapochnick, and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California, and I help clients in all 50 states, and specifically we work with a lot of investors, E2 visa investors, EB5 investors. We have a lot of knowledge in that space. I'm going to give you the most up-to-date information about E2 visa processing in consulates worldwide. There's quite a lot of issues. A lot of clients are concerned, and I'm going to try to give you the best information I can in this video. But before that, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people just like you. On one hand, non-immigrant visa adjudications are starting to increase worldwide. As you know, in the past year or so, non-immigrant visas were really put on a back burner. They give priority to immigrant visas, family petitions, fiancé visas. And in the past few months, non-immigrant visas are back. H-1B visas, O-1 visas, L visas. The only visa category that's really been impacted is the E2 visa. The E2 visa, the investor visa, as well as E1 treaty trader, but mostly the E2 visa for investor. Not only there's been a sharp decline in E2 visa processing in most consulates worldwide, but also quite a few of these embassies refuse to take e-visas at all. Some of these embassies are Ankara, Bogota, and Bridgetown. No e-visa processing in those embassies at the moment. In fact, the US Embassy in Bogota, it's been over a year since this embassy adjudicated any e-visa applications, and that's based on information provided by the State Department. So at a recent meeting between the American Immigration Lawyers Association and the Department of State, they provided some information about why we have all these issues with e-visas and what are they going to do about it. We asked the question, why several embassies and consulates completely stopped processing e-visas. And this is what the State Department had to say. And they said that because of the pandemic, they had a system of prioritizing visa applications. They had a tier system, and I mentioned that tier system in previous videos. And most of these tiers were focused on immigrant visas. Non-immigrant visas, e-visas, or non-immigrant visas were definitely at last priority. And as a result, a lot of these embassies completely shut down their e-visa processing and refused to take on investors. A lot of investors, as a result, had to enter the United States as non-immigrants, tourist visas and students, and try to start their businesses here in the United States. And that process eventually backfired on many of these investors. And so I'm going to explain to you in a second what I mean by that. But coming back to the question, the embassy said because of the way they were prioritizing some of these visas, these E2 visas were left as a last resort. And only now they're starting to reevaluate and take on some of these cases. Some posts are not able to process e-visas because they don't have enough staff. They're focusing more on immigrant visas. And other posts have reopened and they're taking very limited number of E2 visas. So it is very important for you to determine where you're applying, and if you're applying in a particular post, email them to determine if they're taking e-visas and what is the current procedure for E2 visa applications, because you know e-visas are very different from embassy to embassy, the way they process their cases, the way they want you to send the application, even from the binder that you have to send it with, all the way to the number of pages that you send your application. So it's very important to check with the particular embassy if they're open and if they're taking e-visa applications. Now let's talk about what happened during the pandemic, and I mentioned that a few minutes ago, about investors that are coming to the United States to change their status from a tourist or a student. A lot of these investors had to do this because they have no choice. You know, they wanted to start a business, but they were not going to wait for a year or more for the embassy to reopen. And as you know, when you change your status in the United States, all you get is a 2-year status to be able to work and start your business. But that status does not allow you to travel. So the moment you leave the United States, you have to go to US Embassy and apply for the proper visa. Well, what's happening right now is that a lot of these people that changed their status in the past year, they're going to US embassies. One of them is the US Embassy in Tel Aviv, for example. That embassy is making it very difficult for those investors to obtain their visas. In fact, we had quite a few clients that got rejected. Their visas were denied just because they changed their status inside the United States during the pandemic. The US Embassy stated that they see it as a misrepresentation because they came here as visitors and yet they changed their status to an E2 visa, despite the fact that they promised they're just going to be visitors, which again, this doesn't make sense, because the process of changing your status in the United States is perfectly legal. It's been around for many years, and as long as you explain it properly, the US Embassy should not be denying these applicants. The fact is it's happening. It's happening in Tel Aviv. It happened also in Paris, as well as the US Embassy in London. So again, I'm not saying that all applications for change of status will go and apply for visas get denied, but quite a few of them have been rejected by US consular officers. That's a sign of concern for us attorneys, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys in this video so you'll be aware of it. Now, sometimes you have no choice. You have to do it. You're here in the United States. You cannot go back. For example, we have clients from Ukraine right now. They're here. They cannot go back. It's war. I'm changing their status to an E2 right now for those who are eligible and applying for their investor visas. And eventually, when they go back to the US Embassy in Poland or Germany, we're going to process their visas. We're going to be able to document and explain that they had no choice. Obviously, there was war, and that's the reason why we changed their status. But bear in mind that if you're coming from any other country, you may be facing issues when applying for your visa at the US Embassy if you change your status in the United States from any other non-immigrant status to the E2 visa. Another question that came up at that meeting between the American Immigration Lawyers Association and the Department of State is, members ask, is there a particular way that embassies would like to see those e-visas presented to facilitate and speed up the adjudication of cases? This is an important question because e-visa processing keeps changing all the time, and we want to know what is it they want right now to allow us to facilitate those cases in a better way. And the State Department answered this, and this is something that obviously we already know, is that they said that every post, every consulate has discretion, and they process cases on an individual basis and depending on how these consular officers are working in the individual embassy. Some of these consulates have a lot of cases to process, so they have less time to adjudicate those cases. And other embassies have less volume, so obviously they have more time. It is up to you to check with the individual post. If you go on their website, they tell you exactly how they want the E2 visa cases to be presented, how many pages that you can send. There's a page limit on many of these embassies and consulates. Send an application that is too big, it could be rejected. So with E2 visa cases, it is really important for you to contact the individual embassy where you're applying and check the local procedures, how you're going to file your case, what you should include in your application when you file it. And finally, the question they're asked the State Department is, are they going to find a way to centralize and create a uniform way to process these E2 visa cases? Because right now, every embassy, every consulate have their own way to interpret the law and make decisions. And they said that they will be open to getting comments from attorneys and people that are involved in the field, and of course, they're going to try to improve their process. But the fact is that at the moment, when you apply for an E2 visa, you apply for a visa at the individual embassy, you have to understand how that particular post works and be familiar with their procedures to increase the chances of your E2 visa being approved. Like I said, it's very important to understand not all E2 visa cases are the same and not all embassies are the same. They adjudicate cases on a case-by-case method, and also every embassy and consulates requires their own procedures. So hopefully this update was helpful. If you plan to apply for an E2 visa and you need help, make sure you text me 619-483-4549. We're here for the success of our investor clients. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on our next video.